Hi, everybody. For this chapter, we'll look at media, the influence of media on how they depict crimes of the powerful. Let me share my screen. Okay, hopefully you see it. Okay. So, chapter 2 talks about media, culture, and crimes of the powerful. When we look at media is more fragmented, more competitive, and more profit driven today. Consequently, news consumption is like forum shopping or shopping. You find a source of information that most reflect your point of view, and you signal your preference with your loyalty to that particular form of media. When we look at media today, there is a paucity of coverage of crimes of the powerful. It means that there's very little or scant coverage. For example, a quick search on the leading news outlets, Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, shows little coverage given to crimes of corporations of government. And the authors of the book stated that when they tried to search corporate crime, it yielded no results for corporate crimes by Fox for the last 3 years. MSNBC did not fare any better, except for using the term to discuss former entertainment celebrity turned politician Donald Trump's reversals on environmental protections, and also providing a small section on the Security Exchange Commission's and the Justice Department's criminal prosecutions. On CNN, there is scant coverage of crimes of the powerful as well, with two of few examples being an occupational crime by a Chinese technician for suspicion of bribery and an investigation into Russian laundering through Deutsche Bank. When we look at the ownership of the major media organizations, we see that the top 10 media outlets globally are AT&T, Alphabet Inc. or Google, Comcast, Walt Disney Company, Facebook, Tencent Holdings, Spectrum, News Corporation Limited or 21st Century Fox, Apple, and Sony Entertainment. This slide just shows us that there might be a reason why there's a paucity or there's limited coverage of corporate crimes and organizational crimes in media. And it's because of the ownership. Obviously, if you have powerful corporations controlling media, then they would not want to put their offenses in a bad light in all the media outlets that they own. An example of media corporate conglomerate holdings is depicted in this slide. So there's Warner Brothers Studios, HBO, DirecTV, Turner, and Otter Media. You'll see that all of these are owned by like very few media companies. When 80% of the top 20 online news sites are also owned by the 100 largest media companies and the widest disseminators of news commentary and the ideas are firmly entrenched among a small number of the world's wealthiest corporations, it may not be surprising that their news and commentary is limited to an unrepresentative, narrow spectrum of politics. So how exactly are crimes of the powerful depicted in media? They usually focus on individual or corporate defendants of whom most citizens are aware. And these crimes are generally labeled as misguided wrongdoings, bad choices, errors of judgment, or circumstances of the unaware. These crimes also tend to be minimized and personalized in order to portray the perpetrators as victims themselves, and seldom are systems of control and domination, such as capitalism, implicated even casually. Unlike criminals, corporate offenders are often interviewed, allowing them to frame the narrative, and they're also treated with a level of respect and deference. While there is a tacit and explicit demonization of the street criminal, there is sensitization and even glorification for the powerful criminal, not only through news media, but also through television, films, and music. This next slide talks about the Hollywoodization of crimes of the powerful. When it comes to crimes of the powerful, their crimes are often glorified in media and movies. Their actions are portrayed as simply a misguided error of judgment. Hollywoodization of crimes of the powerful is an attempt to socially situate these harms as less than crime. They're merely good people who made bad judgments without agency. In fact, most the powerful criminal or corporate criminal is portrayed as the underdog, or they dramatize media and movies dramatize the crimes of the powerful as comedy. And this type of portrayal minimizes the complexities of these crimes and harms. When we look at social media, it's not any better. From Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to Snapchat, Google, Flickr, and Reddit, social media outlets have become venues for citizens to post everyday life events, including in some cases crimes of the powerful. Social media has primarily served as infotainment, a source of humor or fantasy. Considering that 3.8 million people use social media platforms globally and spend an average of roughly 2.5 hours per day on them, this is not a very good statistic or purpose. Rarely do we see Facebook or Twitter post something that contains information on criminal state and corporate actions or harmful activity by international financial institutions. So in sum, we'll see that this chapter basically told us that news about crime and violence is largely distorted and mostly produced for profit or ratings, not really for education. Most people have poor context for crimes of the powerful, and they often do not think of this category of harm when the term crime comes to mind. In fact, crimes of the powerful are often not labeled as crimes. Most wars, for example, are indeed crimes, and industrial accidents are also criminal harms, but these are not themes engaged in most media. Social media allows citizens to connect with one another and an increasing number of independent news sources. So this concludes our discussion of this particular chapter.